Well, hi everyone, this is Dr. Schroeder with this week's video introduction to week number 7 of our course into Theoretical Foundations of Teaching. And actually a little bit of a belated recording this week. I usually get these recorded on Sunday or sometimes on Monday, but I was running into some connectivity problems, and so I wasn't able to get into the classroom very efficiently, and I wasn't able to upload to YouTube. Either on Sunday or Monday. I got that resolved, and I think that I'd be able to get this resolved and posted today. So thanks for bearing with me. Primarily this week, in week number 6, much of my time was spent on grading your final papers, grading your papers, I should say, your teaching plan. And to kind of recap, the importance of a teaching plan, what you did with that assignment was essentially recreating what every instructor does for every class that they teach. Almost every class at every level of education includes a outline of course content and a list of the resources that are used and an explanation of how the course is going to be evaluated. And so that is a basic, and that table that you completed where you have your content that aligns with the assignments, that aligns with the reading and so forth. That is very common in every course. Usually the student doesn't see that entire teaching plan. You see a portion of it, and you actually see that reflected in each of the 7 weeks or the 8 weeks for the courses here at Sacred Heart University, where each week, sometimes they're termed modules. They will include the objectives for that particular week, your reading assignments, and it's not a full the full content outline that you would normally have in a teaching plan. But that is something that is just very common. It's something that is included in virtually every course syllabus and every course description. It's required by all the state boards that approve nursing programs, and also required by ASIN and all the accrediting agencies. So if you are going to be an educator, that is something that it's a task that you're going to be completing quite often, probably, especially as you revise new courses. The idea of a teaching plan is so that any instructor that has knowledge of the content can come in and follow along and actually just kick right in and start teaching a class, even if they if they've never taught the course before. It's sort of a roadmap and a template that is used to teach. So it's a very important part of what we do in teaching. And so each of you has received feedback on those, and please let me know if you have any questions. The final assignment that is due for the course, kind of your last of your heavy lifting, is due this week. And it's where you're going to be providing or be conducting or developing, I should say, a online module for instruction. And the idea is to take one of your objectives from the teaching plan that you just completed and actually provide instruction. You're going to develop an instructional module. The most common way that this is done is with a PowerPoint with VoiceOver. You do have one other option. It's mentioned in the syllabus. Not so much in the rubric, but it's kind of alluded to in the rubric. If you wanted to do a video, and kind of like I'm doing with you right now, if you wanted to do a lecture, or even more effectively, if you wanted to have your PowerPoint showing on a screen where you're actually doing a movie recording, doing a video podcast, that is another option available to you if you would like to do that. Now, you don't have to do that. There's not, depending on your level of expertise and your level of comfort with videoing yourself, that may or may not be something that you want to take advantage of or may want to try. If it is, you may do that and do that in lieu of a PowerPoint. Again, the idea here of the PowerPoint isn't to, not like most of the PowerPoints where you do for the course where you actually do a PowerPoint explaining some aspect of something that you're learning in the class. Here you're actually going to be developing an instructional module. Take one of your objectives, and how would you teach it? If you were doing this in an online classroom, how would you teach that particular objective? Also, to be included with that assignment is a rubric. You have to have some way of evaluating the student on how well they did. on that assignment, or how would you assess how they learned. It may be a discussion question, maybe a discussion question form. It may be a paper that you have them write, but that will be up to you to determine what would be the most effective and the most appropriate way to assess the learning for that content that you give. That will be due by Wednesday of this week. Excuse me, take that back. It'll be due by Sunday of this week. Of course, your initial discussion questions are going to be due on Wednesday for week 7. One question that came up is that for the rubric, do you have to submit the rubric as a separate paper? And the answer is no. If you're actually submitting a PowerPoint, you may go ahead and just have a PowerPoint slide with that rubric. That's perfectly fine to go ahead and do that for this assignment. If you want to do it in a table or in a Word document and just cut and paste it onto a PowerPoint slide, that's perfectly fine. It's just one less file that you have to worry about uploading. And you would just have it at the end of your instruction, just go ahead and have the rubric, and you can just, on your voiceover, just explain that this is the rubric. If you wanted to explain the rubric, really all that's required is just the written rubric. So you really don't even have to explain it too much, as long as it's self-explanatory when I go to review it. And again, that will be due by Sunday of this week. The discussion this week focuses on ethics. Now, and ethics is something that you've talked about in virtually every class that you've had in the program. Ethics is something that we're all very aware of in nursing, and it's also something that is also important in the classroom. Last week in the discussion, we talked about motivation and how we address the various learning and cultural and the various needs of students, a diverse population of students, in what are sometimes large classrooms. And this week we're going to talk about how do we apply the principles of ethics, particularly justice and beneficence and non-malfeasance. How do we do that in the classroom? What are some of the important points for ethics in the classroom? And so that will be the discussion question, and we're kind of getting to the end of it here. Again, you're down to the last assignment, kind of the last of the heavy lifting for the course. And so we're just going to kind of continue on here. So I wish everybody a wonderful week. If you have any questions, please go ahead and let me know. I look forward to seeing you at discussion forums and look forward to reviewing your assignments this week.